Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Today we're going to be discussing the Arsenal transfer targets. They have been linked to many forwards over the last few days. We're going to dissect which players are most likely to join the Gunners and which players are actually most suited to their style. I hope you do enjoy. As always, if you do, please be sure to like and subscribe for more from me. Now, there's no secret to Arsenal fans. The one player that they would probably want more than any other forward in Europe is Alexander Isak. The Newcastle striker has been amazing this season, probably the best striker in maybe Europe, but he, whilst being very well rounded and in inspired form, he's probably the least achievable out of all the targets linked to Arsenal Football Club this season. If Isak was to move, I believe it would be in the summer. I don't think he's going to make a switch in January. I don't think Newcastle would allow a switch in January. Isak can obviously play on the left and up front, so that versatility is something that Arteta would value. Also, the fact that he is 6'4" or something like that. He's really, really tall. He's a great dribbler and obviously a very good goal scorer, and he's just a physical presence. He's very good at holding up the ball. And unfortunately, though, he's going to be available for about 150 million, and I think that might be outside of Arsenal's January price range. Not only that, he's only 25 though, so you can understand the valuation from Newcastle because he can get even better. In my opinion, though, I don't think it's feasible. For a player, I'd rate him as an A+. Like, he is my dream signing if we could sign anyone on the planet. But the likelihood of this happening in this transfer window, in the January transfer window, unfortunately, is an E. For me, that is probably looking at Dusan Vlahovic. He's a bustly striker and he's been linked for years. Arteta is clearly an admirer of the Juventus forward. He's 6'2" in height and a solid finisher, although he does miss quite glaringly open chances from time to time. His hold-up play is decent. He's a good free kick taker as well, which we do lack at the moment within the squad. And despite all this, though, he has fallen out of favour with Juventus in this season. They've obviously just signed Kolo Muani, so Vlahovic is probably the most gettable player on this list. He has 11 goals in 23 games for Juventus, and he would help the attack, but one of my queries with him is he's not versatile. He can't play multiple positions. And we are lacking numbers across the front line, so on the wing and striker. So I think the forward that we bring in needs to be able to play at least two of the positions. So either a left wing and striker, right wing and striker, attacking midfield and striker. He's not been tested in the Premier League, and I don't feel that he's at the elite level as some other players on this list, such as Isak. I believe Juve would do business though, and I would just worry about if there's an obligation to buy in there. The rumoured price is looking at about 40 to 50 million pounds. He's only 24 still. As a player, because of his lack of versatility and lack of proven quality at the elite level, I would give him probably a C rating. But in terms of the likelihood of the transfer, I actually think this probably will happen this window. I would give it an A. I think all the stars have aligned. Arteta's spoken many a times about the possibilities of if teams are willing to do business in this January transfer window, and I just feel that with Vlahovic, because they brought in Kolo Muani, Juventus would be willing to do business. Another player to look at is Benjamin Sesko, 6'5" in stature. He is a very, very solid option for Arsenal. Obviously, we pursued him in the summer, last summer, and he signed a new contract at the time. Maybe it wasn't his time to move, but the interest hasn't died. We're still going for him now, and he remains an option for Arteta. I believe Arteta really does like this player. There are links from reputable sources that we are still in contact with the player himself and also RB Leipzig. Each reputable source does state that it is unlikely that Benjamin Sesko is to move in this winter window, and it's more likely to be a summer move. But he is starting to prove his quality. 21 years old, he is raw. He's the youngest player on the list. He has 8 in 16 in the Bundesliga, with 4 in 6 in the Champions League. And I'm sure you'll have seen on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, that strike from range he did the other day. He hit the ball with such velocity that we really need in our team. We need that ball striking. He's great at long shots, and I think Benjamin Sesko would be a great signing for the football club. He has a lot of potential, granted at this state it is potential, but he is a very solid player. He's never been proven in the Prem, and the rumours are he's valued at £67 million. In the summer that could drop to as low as £55 million, but he won't come cheap for a player of his ability. He's also very physical, very quick, very strong. Obviously, we did try in for him in the past, and apparently Arsenal are trying to explore the opportunity to do a loan to buy option. Now, RB Leipzig apparently are not don't want that to happen this transfer window, but it remains to be seen if that is something that we would be able to carry out. For me, the player in the system, I'd give him a B rating. In terms of likelihood of this transfer happening, though, I'd say a C+, because the loan with an option is the preferred route for Arsenal. It's whether they are willing to stump up the money, but I do think that if we can get a deal agreed with Leipzig, we could get it over the line, and I think that the interest in Sesko is more genuine than the likes of Vlahovic. Another name doing the rounds is Victor Osimhen, currently at Galatasaray on loan. This would depend on if there's a break clause in his loan agreement with Galatasaray, so Napoli could bring him back and obviously make the sale. Now, Napoli are willing to sell. He is 26 years old, so he's slightly older than Sesko and Isak. He's 1 year older than Isak. The valuation you're looking at between 45 and 55 million pounds. He's an insane physical athlete. He is only 6'1", but he is so strong. He's got such a great leap on him aerially, and he's a very good finisher. In his ball control, I believe that there's some room for improvement, but he is the most proven out of these forwards that we're linked to at the top level. He obviously charged Napoli to a title, and unfortunately the only drawback with him, in my opinion, is his attitude. There is question marks about how he's left it with Napoli and the falling out he's had with Conte, and I don't know if Arteta would be willing to take a risk on a player that maybe has an attitude problem. You look at the signings that we've signed in recent years, not one of them really has a renowned attitude. They're all sort of hard-working type players. So it's whether Arteta could work with him. But there is obviously potential there. He's obviously a very solid player, and he's probably the most proven out of all this list. I'd say he's arguably of a world-class ability. So would it be a great signing for Arsenal? Obviously it would. The player, in my opinion, is an A in terms of ability. But the likelihood of it happening, just because we don't know about the fact as to whether he has that release clause in his contract, you're probably looking at about a D in likelihood. Matheus Cunha from Wolverhampton Wanderers is heavily linked with Arsenal. Apparently Forest are bidding 65 million to bring him to their club, and I don't believe that I would get involved anywhere near that price. I think if we are a sensible club, we swerve Matheus Cunha for that price. If you could get him for 40 to 45, I'd be open to it, but I just have red flags about this player. 10 in 19 games in the league is superb, but when you look at the goals he scored, it feels like he is just slightly going against the grain a little bit, and he might not necessarily be consistent at goal scoring for the foreseeable future. So for me, Matheus Cunha, I wouldn't sign. I don't think he's the right player for Arsenal, but he is the most versatile player on this list, can play in centre midfield. He has played on the left flank and the right flank and up front throughout the season, and he has been in inspired form. So if Arsenal are confident that they can keep these numbers up for Matheus Cunha, maybe go for him. He's the most similar player on the list, I'd say, to Kai Havertz, having been able to play in midfield and also attack. But I don't think we should go for the same type of player as Kai Havertz. I think we need to try and have a mix of positionalities and profiles within the squad, and I don't think Matheus Cunha would be the right player for us right now. In terms of the player, I think I'd rate him a C. In terms of the likelihood of the transfer, though, I think I'd rate it a B. I think that Arsenal may do this bit of business, and I really hope that they do not. There have been some other forward links that I will just entertain for the sake of entertaining. Nico Williams of Atletico Bilbao has been linked, and Arsenal apparently have a heavy interest in the winger. Obviously, you can play on the left and the right. He's an exciting dribbler, very good on the ball, very quick. Now, the reason that apparently the release clause we can pay, we can afford that. I think it's around £50 million, but his wages are an issue. £300,000 per week. I don't see that this is a likely one for Arsenal to do in the summer, or before we get the major players at B, e.g. Saka, Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes and Ødegaard signed up to new deals, because signing Nico Williams would really hinder our wage structure, and you want to get Saka, especially, signed down to a new contract first before you buy a player of Nico Williams' wage structure, because Saka right now, for everyone's opinion, would deserve the highest amount of earnings within the squad. At the moment, he's on what, 180? If we were to give him a new contract, you're looking at 250. If you were to sign Nico Williams prior to giving him a new contract and put Nico Williams on £300,000 a week, Saka's going to argue that he should belong on more wages than Nico Williams, rightfully so, because of what he's offered for the club, and therefore the wage structure is blown out of proportion. You have to give Saka 320 grand a week. Then you have to give Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, Ødegaard around 300 just to be in the same profile of player. So it makes no sense to sign Nico Williams before signing these players up. An outfield shout for me, and the final player on this list, would be Ollie Watkins. I think he'd be sublime. I don't know how much Villa are wanting. You're going to probably look at 70 to 80 million pounds, but he can play left wing and striker. He's quick, he's versatile, he's good at controlling, he's a good finisher, and he's Premier League ready and proven. He's also English, which would add to our quota. So I think that would be the player just out there that I'd look to explore. My dream player out of this list, Alexander Isak. No debate, no question about it. I think he's the best player on this list. The most likely transfer on this list, I believe, that Arsenal would go for is probably Vlahovic. But that is it for today. Let me know who your dream Arsenal signing for a striker or forward is in the comments below. Be sure to let me know who you believe would suit our system the most and who you think we're also going to sign. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.